Hello everybody, Ben here and back to another go at Planeteers with our second episode. Alright, last we left off, we seem to be in some kind of emergency. Alright, let's go. ... Oh, how interesting. What? What is it? Did something happen? No, not to cause you any alarm, passenger, sir, but there seems to be an accident. The shuttle short-range radar has detected incoming debris storm. That doesn't sound good. Actually, in fact, that's a very bad thing, isn't it? Well, I wouldn't say very bad, but you might want to. Now, like I said, there's no cause for alarm or anything. Of course not. But you might want to brace for impact. Oh, what's the word for that? A debris storm? I hurled back to my seat in the cabin to look out the window, squinting my eyes to see through the blackness of space. I could make out a few sparkling lights, reflections. Yes, reflections. The ship itself was bright, powerful lights attached to its wings, tail, and under the cockpit. Every time they flashed, I got a peek at something of sort approaching mass. Meteorites, hundreds, maybe thousands of meteorites, drift aimlessly through space, cluttering together in a school. A relentless, soaring landslide of steel on a direct collision course with the shuttle. My heart sank deep into my stomach. Actually, no, it went well past that. Plummeted straight down to my bowels. Okay, buddy. No cause for alarm, right? I've got it under control. No cause for alarm? No cause for alarm. I repeated those words to myself, and more incredibly each time. I took a deep breath, staring myself for what I faced was to come. Still a stare. I closed my eyes, counted on not to watch it go down. Oh no, that's not good. Tap, tap, tap. I could hear the sound of particles impacting the hull, the constant whining of ringing metal. They started the space spread out. Tap, 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 tap. Only a few minutes ago, the cabin had been eerily silent. Now constant stream of sound filled it, like we've been thrown into the midst of a typhoon. I could only imagine the cold wind hitting my face, the flurry of old earth. I was thinking it was better than a coping mechanism. I'd rather be lost in a thunderstorm or a residual surface than weathering debris storm in a dinky old shuttle in one of the most remote parts of charted space. I went popping an eye open. Heavy rocks pound against the hull, and the ship lurched to one side, and it didn't seem like we sustained any serious damage yet. So I sat there, clenching my legs, wiggling my hands in desperation, hoping the storm would soon pass. Wham, wham! Like fists driven in by fury and rage, the meteorites continued to pound against the shuttle. With each impact, the rock dug into the hull, denting it, pushing against the cabin walls. The flooding presence against my legs as a large difference subtly steamed forward that was too close for comfort. Another large meteorite rocketed off the window. As I sat next to it, I flinched, wiggled in my seat. Look, I've been through worse than this, alright? Way worse than this. I am a veteran of the trade, an unsold hero in artificial intelligence community, you know. This is nothing that I can't handle, so... Dots? More dots? Oh. That's bad. they come straight into sight, and saw enormous meteorites that the heavier hitters in the storm hurled themselves directly into our path. Even the awe-inspiring holy light of distant stars covered in shadow of the meteorites. One of them on a direct course for the cabin. It was monstrous grey, jagged mass of nice devilish, its iron deposits reflecting and flashing emergency lights of our ship. It was going to impact, and it was going to impact very soon. I swallowed hard, lowered my hands to undo the harness. My hands shot thunderously. I couldn't get at the switches and belts. I tugged on the straps, but they seemed to only tighten. Come on, god damn it! Before the strength had been drained from my arms, the belts mechanically disengaged. Passenger sir, you need to get into the cockpit. It's most isolated part of the ship. We can steer it if the worst comes to worst. Oh dear. You need to get in here now. I exhaled deeply, darted towards the cockpit. Crash! The sharpness and sparks flew everywhere, lighting up the world in a blaze of yellow and orange. The entire cabin swayed and shook. The horrendous sound of metal sheets raining apart filled my ears. I slammed into the cockpit door, opened it, let myself fall through, and kicked it shut. Scrambling over to the console, I seized the cockpit door and engaged all airlocks. My breathing was frenetic, my vision blurred. I was in panic when I saw the pale figure of the navigator scrolling through the monitor screens and spreadsheets. Oh. It comforted me at least a little bit. That one was especially bad. Damage report? The hull has been breached. You're lucky you got in here in time, sir. It took some time to settle in, trying to find my footing in the cockpit as the shuttle rumbled in the midst of the storm. I paused. I felt an odd sensation where my hands was resting on the windshield. I drifted my eyes down and to take a look. The hairline fractures along the window pane. My finger ran along the thin, narrow line formed in the ultra-hardened glass. The splitness panels formed were remarkable, but I was paralyzed with terror. Suddenly, another launch forward, another large collision. Ah, damn it! Please, sir, take the co-pilot seat and strap in. It's dangerous to remain standing at this time. The receptions to the machine's godling. I staggered to my feet, watching my footing in the lopsided cabin. Eventually, I sank into the plushy co-pilot seat to the navigator's right. I glanced over to her. Hey navigator, quick question. How in the hell did you not notice the mess of Metroid's bullshit heading our way? They didn't show up on the short-range radar. Their iron commands deposited and absorbed the signals. That's what I'm thinking. The storm came in two-faced to be traced. I paused. There was nothing we could have done about it. The storm just drifted through space and just decided to ravage us in its wake. What the hell kind of freak accident? Are you alright, passenger, sir? Are you hurt? That was a nasty beating you took. The program looked so concerned for me. Rubbing my forehead, I waved off its concerns, groaning to myself. Yeah, I ought to be fine. Nothing that I can't handle. What are we going to do now? Well, our vessel sustained critical damage, and we've been knocked considerably off course. Both the navigation and communication systems are completely offline. I haven't been able to find a way to repair them. But for now, we need to do something about the damage. Right now, the rest of the ship is nothing but a sheer, hulking mass, adding an unnecessary weight. Preparations for jittering the cockpit are underway. We should be far removed from the storm in a due time. Understood. Progress as you should, navigator. More dots. Wait, what? Jettisoning the cockpit? This is a transition shuttle. It is an older model, sir, previously designed for 2 human pilots. In the case of emergency, the shipmaker installed a very simple mechanism to eject the cockpit, which contains a lavatory and the necessary supplies for emergency survival. It was essentially a primitive form of an escape pod, except roomier and less reliable. Though I believe the jettison system of this craft is still in working order, I do maintain it after all. What? Well, I thought about it. It wasn't such a strange thing to phase out, now that pilots are almost always navigators. Even then, I'm glad it wasn't phased out entirely. The age of the ship may well never been what saved me in that moment. Okay, well, that sounds doable. When are we going to perform this jettison exactly? Dots? Hey, don't clamp up on me now. It's not a sure thing, but I'll have to inspect our subsystems to see if it's in still working order. I thought you said it was still in working order. It is. Dots? Probably. The machine lied to me? Probably. Doesn't really. I'm going to need to inspect the circuitry in order to fire up the launch mechanism. The system is hardwired in before the time of navigators, so it has been restricted in software. Mostly everything else has. The AI turned to me, and appreciation looked in her soft eyes. It's pretty scary down there, so watch out for me, passenger sir. Doesn't sound practically comforting right now. The program bowed swiftly with a weak smile, and that started sinking into my gut-ridden stern again. Hey, don't talk like that. You're a personal navigator, aren't you? The eyes drifted up to mine, wide like a child peeking at a scolding parent. For whatever reason, I couldn't bring myself to match her gaze. I looked off to the side. Do your best down there. I'm counting on you. Dots. The program stared back at me for a few painful moments as I was figuring something out in its mind. The eyes were piercing and serious. In time, the eyebrows furrowed, bursting into its iris. Understood. I'm going in. Make sure your harness is correctly secure. I'll be back soon. I nodded. Click. That's the fastest I've ever fastened my seat straps. The AI's hologram displayed switched off, and a flash of white light, and its cameras retracted back into the inner workings of the console. In a moment I was left on my own devices, in the face of death. The cockpit was a closed room, framed of steel and duraglass, the only thing that separated the pilots from the hellish vacuum of space. I looked out at the infinite expanse before me, the distant, flickered stars. Boom! I felt the ship rumble with the impact of another massive meteorite. I shivered. Was I gonna die here? Alone? This infinite vastness of space? No one would care. No one would even find me. Maybe I'll end up drifting out here forever. That scared me more than anything else. Grrr. I felt the seat vibrate. My hands instinctually clamped the armrest, attempting to keep myself steady. Ark! The entire room was shaking. I felt like the harness was about to rip apart. Ka-chunk! Oh shit. And then, like a ragdoll, I was flung back into my seat, sinking faster and further into the stiff leather. I shouldn't move my head. The pressure was too forceful. I simply started out of the front of the cockpit as I saw it shoot forwards. We definitely being jettisoned. The cockpit is a small pebble piled across the windshield, but I don't care. It was easy cadence, laughing to myself in a giggle of joy that was clearing up. The program had managed it. We were going to make it. We were about to hit another enormous meteorite. Slam! The cockpit hurled through space, spinning erratically from the scrape of the meteorite. I clung into my seat for dear life, feeling the G-forces press into my seat. A cockpit once draped in flashing lights and infographic displays was instead shrouded in suffocating curtain of darkness. The only light caught in the chaotic glimpse of the stars were the windshield, which, as the strapped and dragged into my chest, the only thing that kept me from hard collision with the windscreen. I felt nauseous. I might be of the second forces crashing in the air of my lungs. I strained, looking to my side where the navigator had previously been, furiously peeking away at the interface to salvage our wreck of the transmission. The logical part of me understood that it was up to operating inside the circularly and airing. I still felt a wave of dread overcome me. What if it didn't work? What if the navigator failed? What if I didn't manage to restore the power, or there was another breach in the hull? I had been trapped in the depths that most expand of mankind had ever known. I was trapped, good as dead. This was my grave, a coffin of glass, sparkling with circuitry. It would prevent my final moments, dying expansions on my face as I suffocated and froze in the vacuum of space. In space, no one can hear you scream. It was a quote from an old, ancient story that they tell to the kids. Perhaps it would be okay for me to scream here, but not in the single utterance escaped my lips. My throat tightened as I came to terms with all the shadow dance hovering over me. I closed my eyes, ready to accept my fate. Boom! My eyes shot up open as the cockpit rumbled back to life. The cloak of darkness cut to ribbons by the vintage displays, scurrying back to life. The flashing red lights painted across the control board indicated something was amiss. Don't worry, flashing lights, I noticed. The operation system booted up before my eyes. Green code blazing across the hotware, black screen faster than a human eye could ever hope to produce. Navos 4895? High mean tracks at OXFFE00000. Pre-enabled, enabling database access. Elite kernel version 12.5.0. Monogem 1001200 IST 2567. Copyright as AppleSoft XNV 14932/1. Startup times linking quantum is 10000 us. Ian Page Bootstrap 56.2035T 3 pages and 84.3821T wing pages Main table max display 1 equals 95. Did this mean that the ship was coming back online? I didn't know what was going on. Suddenly a flash of light. And I think with that we will call it here. Hope you have a good time. And see you in the next video.